Good morning, everyone. You are listening to Blue Collar Tribe Podcast. I am your host, Splash. I have an amazing guest, but before we get to the guest, you are listening to a brand new season. So I really hope you enjoyed the time away. And as those that have followed me for a while should know this, those that are new to the podcast understand that I do take time off, usually 2 to 3 weeks after we have 9 to 12 recordings. The reason is mental health is so important. And also, it's a good time to relook at what you're doing. No matter what kind of work you're in, there's opportunities for you to grow and basically cut the fat. And that's what I do during my 2 to 3 weeks off is I cut the fat, gives me time to refresh and think of ideas and record episodes ahead of time, like this episode right now. Morgan, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Splash. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Awesome. It's so nice to see your face.
You too. I love whenever we get together. We talk on the phone a lot, but getting together to record is always really nice.
Yeah, there are like a handful of people. You fall into this place. I'll name drop a few because I know a few that you know a few, but Paul from Monkey Rung, you, Ben from Bucket Edge, and sometimes Chris Shank. Y'all are hard to get a hold of. Y'all act like you're so busy, which I know you are because there's all the stuff you're doing. But I'm just grateful for the friendship we've built, both business and personal. I've known you for years, so let's give a little background. I met Morgan at PCA many, many, many years ago when I first launched the podcast, and it was actually called No Bullshit Blue Collar. And coincidentally, I did not wear this shirt intentionally. I just happened to have it because I'm doing some work around the house.
That's awesome.
I had a booth. My wife was there. We met you. That was in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, if I remember right.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was the Phoenix one.
Yeah, you were part of a whole nother company.
That's right.
And we were going to get you on the podcast back then, but your life has changed. You are now here talking about the Contractor Lab. And I don't want to mess this up because it's important, because it is a new brand of what you're doing. Yeah. So for the listeners that don't know, what is the Contractor Lab and where does it come from?
Yeah, such a great question. So, like you mentioned, there's been a lot of evolution over the last few years. So, where a lot of people originally knew me from was as one of the managing partners at Bookkeeping for Painters and Bookkeeping for Trades. So, we were accounting services that specialized in working with all kinds of home service and commercial contractors. And I was one of the managing partners and I was the head of advisory over there. So, the way that I explain that to people, I was basically like a fractional CFO for a lot of different contracting businesses. I think I worked with hundreds of contracting businesses in that capacity over my time there. But about a year and a half ago, I had an opportunity to exit as a partner and spend more time in the realm of education and advisory and coaching, which is really where my heart is. So I was the head of advisory in that role, but then I wanted to kind of branch out and just spend more time in advisory. So I started doing a lot more consulting. I started doing a lot more coaching. And one of the things that I was working a lot on was doing mergers and acquisitions consulting, which is still something that I do a little bit of. But in the vein of coaching on that, it's also something that my husband and I leverage as an investment strategy. So keeping an eye out for businesses that are a good fit for us that we might want to lean in and acquire. And that is what happened with the Pro Painter Network. So our good mutual friend, Nick May, was at a point where he was transitioning away from being able to spend as much time and effort on the Pro Painter Network. And when he and I were chatting about it, we came to the brilliant idea together that instead of winding down the Pro Painter Network, it could be a really great opportunity for me to pick up that torch from Nick and run forward with it, which is what we did about a year ago. So the Contractor Lab is the key coaching program that we have launched as part of the membership rework and the membership relaunch of the Pro Painter Network. So we went live with the membership relaunch about 6 or 7 weeks ago with a cohort of early adopters and started working together on the Contractor Lab, which is a weekly coaching session, large group format. Any members that are available pop in and hang out. And we usually run for 90 minutes to a couple of hours every week. And we've just been diving deep on all kinds of topics that are helping those business owners and really addressing some of the pain points and the things that they have going on. So right now, the Contractor Lab lives as part of the Pro Painter Network membership. It's all professional painting contractors right now. Long term, I would love to launch another segment of the Contractor Lab that's more open to other types of contractors. I still do a lot of work with other contracting businesses through coaching networks like Conquer. Really love the Conquer community. So yeah, that's where the Contractor Lab lives in right now. And then the fall event that we're hosting historically has been known as Crank, but we're going to be rebranding Crank as the Contractor Lab Live. It's going to be a continuation of the workshopping that we do on a weekly basis, but it's going to be a chance to dive deep with everyone who rolls into town for that for a couple of days here in Las Vegas.
Awesome. That's a mouthful. I um I loved Crank last year.
Yeah,
You called me in kind of last minute, which I appreciated that I was a thought of. Especially being out of the game. Like I had not been really doing anything on social media for that time. Like I literally kind of
right.
like hung up everything. And I want to talk about the coaching. It's important, and I like backstories. Again, I gain new followers every week, and I lose followers, and that's just the ebb and flow of social media. So I want to give a little backstory why coaching is important.
Mm,
Um, had I understood coaching when splash painting was open, there's a big part of my heart that really feels that business would be open. Um, in the aspect of this, you used to not be able to go live on social media. For people that don't know, like there was a time period that there was no live feature. I remember when Instagram allowed live. YouTube was letting live. Facebook was kind of around that area. There was no Ticker Talker. I think it was called um, Musically at the time. No live
you know,
feature.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So I would actually go live every Friday morning. That's kind of how I got the name Splash. And I would get on there and just talk business.
Hmm.
It was a coaching format. I didn't realize it at that time. I didn't realize it because we would eventually get the same, 40 to 60 contractors showing up and talking to us
Right.
on live. And I think maybe I had met you at the time that you jumped on a few times and watched. And like, I never realized how important at the time was that you were doing that because as a contractor, and Chris Shank and I joke about this, we're not octopuses, but we always work our way as being an octopus. And so
Yeah.
Crank was a brilliant idea from Nick May. It was an opportunity to get around like-minded people. And I love the idea. Now as a former business owner of a paint company, if I were to open my business, let's say tomorrow, I would be part of a coaching program. Even
Right.
though I'm the one doing the coaching now, I obviously wouldn't be doing it and then doing the business in itself. I've chosen the route of social media, content creator, whatever else you want to add to that title. But like for what you're talking about is where do you see the value? Because you come from the educational
Yeah.
part. You have multiple stories. So those people that are listening right now to this new season of Blue Collar Tribe, if they're on that fence of like, why would a coach be important to me? Why is that? Like, what stories or little inklings do you have that's like, hey, this is where we can help you? Because there's a multiple facets of us out here doing coaching now.
Right. For sure.
But yours stands out for lots of reasons.
Oh, that's sweet. And that's such a good question too. Obviously my background in coaching and honestly in just working with the blue collar tribe in general comes from growing up in a blue collar family where all of the men in my family are different types of contractors. So electricians, carpenters, my dad and my brother are welders and pipe fitters. And I kind of joke that really early on, growing up in a trades family, I realized I was not dyslexic enough to be successful as a contractor. So I had to find another way. And so what I realized was that my talent really lies in learning being able to really quickly and effectively learn difficult concepts and then translating that really effectively. So I also come from a really long line of educators. Almost everyone in my family who was not a craftsperson was an educator, a teacher, a professor of some kind. So those two halves of my life and my family lineage, I guess, blended really, really elegantly. The biggest thing that I think the biggest value with coaching and having advisors in your corner is that as a business owner, you are eating, breathing, and sleeping your business every day. And a lot of the time that looks like survival mode. A lot of the businesses that we're working with are they're just so preoccupied with all of the details and the nuance of what they have going on every day that you don't have the time to lean in and specialize in and learn all of the things that are relevant to all of these different components and pieces of your business. So whether that's marketing, whether it's how to be persuasive, whether it's internal documents and policy, whether it's different elements of sales, there's all of these different components that come in together that form the ecosystem of your business. And whenever you start scaling up, you usually start hiring out, you start bringing in some different experts, different levels of expertise. And I think the realm of where coaching lies that's really valuable is helping people, helping business owners have a sounding board and helping them identify what's next. Because we always talk about and we joke about how business is an infinite game, and it really is. There's an infinite number of directions and things that you could start building. And it's almost like being trapped in a room full to the brim of Legos, but there's like no instructions on what you're supposed to be doing exactly or what you're supposed to be building next. So, one of the roles for coaches and advisors is to help put that roadmap together, help create and outline that top level strategy that then translates down into the specific tactics and the things that you want to deploy. And so it's really about clarity. It's about having somebody who has worked with a ton of different other businesses and business owners in a really similar place as you, and identifying and getting that clarity and that person in your corner that's going to be there to kind of walk with you through these different phases of your business. And I think that's part of why there's such a rich community of coaches and educators that have sprung up both within the painting industry and the contracting and trade space. Different coaches have different flavors, right? And they focus on different things at different times. So as different businesses grow and evolve, one coach might be the perfect coach for you for a few years. And then I tend to hear that people will kind of grow and move on and start working with someone else. So I think that's where coaching really serves business as well, is having that person in your corner to teach, educate, help you specialize in some of those things that you maybe haven't had the time to do completely on your own. For me in particular, working as a fractional CFO for a number of years, working as a really high level consultant as businesses were coming across these major transition points. They're looking at selling, bringing on partners, maybe acquiring other businesses, and getting to do some really high tier, high ticket coaching. I really, really enjoy that realm, working in that realm. But what started to bother me was the realization that I just felt like I wasn't having enough impact on the broader audience because everyone that I was working with had to be able to afford paying me a few $100s an hour for one on one coaching. And so there's a lot of different frameworks for coaching. And that's part of why I think podcasting is an incredibly important platform because it's that one to many, right? You have the
Yeah.
ability to come out here and reach so many people with the things you're talking about and touching on. High ticket coaching or higher tier coaching through some of the networks like Conquer, like Breakthrough Academy, like Nolan Consulting Group, like Tom Reber's The Contractor Fight, all amazing programs. I feel really lucky that I've gotten to work really closely with all of those folks over the years. And I still highly recommend them to people. And I really think it's worthwhile for people to check those programs out and figure out who they have the best fit for. But one of the things that was kind of bugging me is that a lot of that smaller group coaching or the one on one coaching is just priced out for a lot of the contractors that we work with. So
Yeah.
my goal with the Contractor Lab was to create a program that was more price accessible. So it's a slightly larger group format, but still really consistent and a really good jumping in point for those businesses that are wanting to develop, but maybe haven't been able to like jump right into the deep end with a coach before.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of things. I was writing a bunch of notes down, but first off, contractors, if you're dyslexic, she means that from the kindness of your
Oh,
heart.
yes, from all of the love.
Because so contractors, we don't read instructions. We just open shit up. We look at it like, all right, get the ladder, give me my drill, let's fucking go. And it's a beautiful way to work.
It is.
Then there's people like you and my wife that just want to write it out, read the numbers, and make sure it's gonna fit. And like we're like, no, we get it. A little hammer here, a little nail there, some glue, maybe some spackle. We're good. We're good. You talked about a few things. So one, have you ever heard of the term arc in coaching?
Tell
You ever
me
heard
what
the
you mean by
term
it.
arc? Okay.
Tell me what you mean.
Years ago, Splash used to be white collar. I just want you all to know that I've been in the trenches of white collarness. I know, scary. I was very successful at the time. I mean, I was very successful. I could sell ketchup to tomato. Like it just came natural to me, you know.
That's dark. That's dark, dude.
But I heard this term arc, and I've kind of formed it to being blue collar in the sense. And you said something important, like we all have our different flavors. You're talking the Toms and everyone. I love Tom. He's been on the podcast. He's going to come back on again. He's doing a Denver summit right now, getting ready to. I think he
Sweet.
launched it today.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of things, but one of the most important things when you're finding a coach, no matter what kind of coaching you're looking for, is do they fit the personality? It's just like people you follow on social media. Do
Yeah.
they do the things that you want? Um, you know, it's you don't need a million followers to be successful anymore in social media. I know guys that have 5,000 followers that are making $10,000 a month. So kudos to them because they have a niche, they have a personality.
Mhm.
With that being said, when you talk about arc, for me, it's acknowledge, respond, and create.
Mm.
The reason I say that is as a contractor from the business perspective, I'm going to talk the business perspective now, not being a coach or anything like that, but as a contractor who owns a business, you need to acknowledge that your business, I'm going to change the words you said, but like there's a lot of these businesses that are on the fringe of collapsing, especially right now with COVID, coming through COVID. I can't tell you. I've had my number off of Google for over a year and a half now, which is really weird to think about. My business has been off of there. I still get phone calls. But on top of those phone calls, I'm getting cats that are painters locally, and I get some Denver, Wyoming, and some Idaho painters that call me asking for work. I'm still getting calls for work. But when I'm seeing these contractors say, hey, I can't get work, that's a sign that you need to acknowledge. That's that first part is acknowledge. The second part of that is let's respond. How can I respond? Well, in my opinion, not because Morgan's in front of me, but being a business owner now, you need to find a coach. You need to find someone, you know, and that someone isn't another contractor. I hate to break it to you because there's different levels of friendship, which I'm going to break down when I'm getting into this. If you can respond to yourself, say, hey, I need help. I'm not an octopus. I only have two arms. I can't manage the bookkeeping, the taxes, the employees, the paint pickup, the drywall pickup, all the other things, the social media, all the other things we've added onto your business. Once you've responded to that, then let's create an action plan. And creating the action plan is finding a coach. They're everywhere. Just go on social media. Say the word coaching with your phone shut off, and within an hour of you scrolling, you'll see at least 10 different coaching systems being sold to you.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to be the asshole here. If a coach tells you, hey, come with me and I'll get you $30,000, and if you don't make it in the first 30 days, I'll pay you $5,000, y'all stay away. Stay away.
Mm.
And I'm going to tell you this from experience. Not that I bought into it, but I'm going to tell you from experience. That salesperson is probably a great person, but unless you're in a high volume area like Sarasota, Florida, Scottsdale, Arizona, they're not going to help you. Because to go from $2,000 to $4,000 all the way up to $30K in a year in most traditional areas across the US, it's hard to upscale that quick. Coaches,
Right.
you're doing a big disservice because the area is so important that you don't know, and making promises like that, it's such a false hope to the human mind of the blue collar workers that
Mhm.
as a blue collar person, I find that disrespectful. As a coach person,
Right.
y'all you're better than that. You
Yeah.
know that. Like
Yeah.
get a different marketing plan.
You
So
you make a really interesting point there, and one of the to kind of tag onto that, one of the other things that I've been seeing and really feeling in my core a lot lately is when you get into the coaching and the educational space, one of the most common things that we start hearing is stop working in your business and start working on your business. And there's so much
mhm.
truth to that, right? There's a lot of reasons why we need to be able to take a couple of steps back, enough to be able to start working on some of the systems and things so that the business can become more stable and can eventually grow. But one of the things that I've been seeing that's especially difficult right now, which is a challenging time period for a lot of contracting businesses, is that sometimes that narrative makes people or makes business owners feel like they're doing something wrong with the seats and the hats that they're filling in the business. And a lot of the time, I see people start trying to take those hats off and hand them off to other people way too soon. They're putting the cart before the horse when the business isn't quite ready for that yet. So that's one element that I would really recommend is take the time to find somebody who's going to be able to walk through some of the nuances of this advice for you. It's really tempting to look for formulas and systems that you want to be able to say, I can just like plug and play this thing into my business and I'm going to have all of the exact same success as this guy over here or that guy over here. Doesn't really work like that. You've got to be able to find and adapt that to your own business because otherwise it can just turn into an even bigger mess sometimes. So that's an important part of being that acknowledged, right? Of like really being listened to by whoever you're working with and seeing if somebody can talk to you with some nuance about maybe what should be happening in the business.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't, this next statement doesn't come from bragging. It just comes from experience. I think talking about your experience is important because it sets relevance of why I'm able to have this conversation with someone like Morgan. Um, my business was chaotic. It was fucking crazy, but I was successful.
Mm,
You know, six figures, a few handfuls of six figures throughout the years. That does not mean that my business was run better. I can look back now, 18 months being disarmed from that community of being the painter and the owner.
mm,
I can tell you now with what I know and looking back at my books and looking back at conversations, and I'm a very meditative person. Those that know me, like I like to think it's not because to me, looking back at what you think you felt at and then finding success through it is important because then you realize how successful you were and you can say, hey, next go around or next thing I tackle as an entrepreneur, I'm going to do it better because I learned from that. So
right.
I say that in this aspect. I missed out on at least $300,000 a year not having systems in place,
Mhm,
not having a coach. And I know you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. That is. It doesn't necessarily mean it was my money personally, but for the business,
right.
300K is a lot. I mean,
Oh,
that maybe could be an extra 60K for me. That's a new truck,
yeah.
a
Mhm,
new boat, a new spray system, whatever it is that you're thinking of, right?
right.
So when I hear you say like stop handing out the hats so quick, time is irrelevant, but relevant. It's the one thing in this world
Mm,
that other than money, we put so much emphasis on.
mhm,
And I heard this quote, and I've known it for years. I've met the person once or twice personally. I think it's Ed Milet that is the one I'm thinking of that said this, and it says like money forms from, and I'm re-quoting it differently, but the money that we actually make, the physical money is there. The real money comes from the ideas and actioning those ideas. And so when you say, hey, let's back off a little bit and look at it and be like, okay, I know I need someone to do my books. Well, don't just go with the first person you call.
mhm,
I mean, like me, I know my wife books all of our trips, but I know that she's looked at least three different hotels or three different plane tickets. You
right.
need to do your due diligence.
Yeah. And I think that's part of where, having a really successful coaching relationship comes in is that part of it shouldn't be just telling you, take off the hat and hand it to someone else. But a really key piece of that kind of advisory needs to be teaching you how to manage, right? Like,
Hmm.
what are those executive functions look like? How do you find a good professional? Is it the right time for it to be an employee or do you need to find a company? If you're working with a company or an employee, how do you vet them? How do you manage them? How do you maintain quality, right? One of the big pain points I've been seeing lately is like with marketing agencies. Everyone's bleeding money with their marketing agencies right now. And
Hmm.
it's because everyone knows, hey, I probably shouldn't be managing this myself. It'd be a good idea to hand this hat off. But it becomes really difficult to figure out how to identify who knows what they're doing in the market, who's going to do a good job. How do I know I'm not just pouring money out, right? It's painful.
Yeah, social media has put a really big twist on that. With the marketing we do with Blue Collar Tribe, one of the very first questions I get, if not the first question, is, "Well, how many followers do you have?" And I always tell everybody, I don't ask you how much money you got in your bank account.
Right.
And I'll tell them how many I have, and I tell them that number, stop focusing on how many followers I have. That's irrelevant. Because I know guys who I will not name that have 120,000 followers or more just on Instagram, and I'm at roughly 15. They get the same amount of views as I do. So whose numbers are better? And I
Mhm.
don't post nearly as often as I used to. If I got back into posting the way I used to, I would have 10,000 plus views, if not more, and comments, because I know what I was doing. I still know what I'm doing. That's why I teach it now and
Right.
don't do it, because I'm refocusing that mindset for me. But one thing I'll say to people in the coaching realm, and I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings because I don't know your whole business model, but I do truly feel when you're looking at coaching, please, for your own business sake, don't get into coaching thinking about how much money you're going to make. You will make the money. Okay. The investment, the or ROI, return of income, will come back to you. What's important is finding someone who you connect with, someone who's going to take that time to listen to you and what you want, and then you have to sit back and not talk and listen to, we'll just say example would be Morgan, and her team at Contractor Lab. Like, when they're telling you and guiding you through things, you have to stop and acknowledge what's being said to you, and then you're going to have the opportunity to respond. That money will come, but it's not instantaneously. That's where I've talked to some other, painters, specifically painters, that have asked me to help coach them or asked me to help guide them. And like I tell them, like, I can help you, but if you're coming to me thinking I'm going to increase your money today, stop. You don't live in an HOA. That's a huge difference. Um, and a lot of painters and contractors I've talked to, especially at PCA, one of the big things I learned at PCA, which really kind of shifted my mindset, was all these contractors. And if you've never been to a PCA event or any big event where there's a lot of contractors, just know you're going to hear the term, I make seven figures. Now, I have my own belief system on that, take a few zeros away, but these cats that are saying they're making that's not them, that's the business. You always got to think in relations to, when you hear people on social media say, well, I made this much money. No, you made your business that much money.
Mm-hmm.
30% of that is taxes. 40 to
Right.
60 is probably your employees, workman's comp, and all that other jazz. They're still making
Man.
good money. Don't get
And
them wrong.
it's so true in like every space that you spend time in, every industry you spend time in. The people that crow the loudest about how much money they're making, it's all walk. Like it's
Yeah.
all talk, I should say. Um, People who are really successful tend to be very subtle, I think.
Yeah, they do. And what I learned from them is, and what Morgan is saying, and as the contractor, Morgan's not been the contractor. She's lived around them a long time, but someone who has been in your yard, so to speak, like, I'm not looking over the fence, I'm in your yard as the contractor.
Hmm.
You need a coach. You need that experience, because one thing that coaching does that I absolutely love, I'm going to tell you after our sponsor, because it's one you're going to want to write down. We'll be back. No handouts, just work. That is the motto of blue collars across the world. You and me alike, we understand what it is to get off a job site, look all dirty, getting ready to go out to dinner, trying to find some clothes that still represent that we are blue collar to the bone. Well, visit my friends at Trep Wear. That's TREP wear.com. What is Trep, you ask? It stands for the real everyday people. That's you. That's you every day. You are real. You are an everyday human being that just loves and has passion about what you do. Well, wear it pridefully on your shirts, on your shorts, on your jackets, and on your baseball hats. Visit my friends at trepwear.com and use my code SPLASH25, get 25% off, and be part of the real everyday people of the blue collar world. All right, so those that are back with us, what we're talking about, why coaches are important, and I left you with a cliffhanger, very much intentional. We've already talked about the coaching and finding a good coach that you commingle with well. But one of the most beautiful things, and I realized this at Crank on Fire last year, was I'm getting the chills just thinking about it, the other contractors that are there.
Mm.
From day one of walking into Crank, from the first night of being on the top of a beautiful rooftop bar in downtown Colorado, and having some drinks and just getting to know these contractors, I sat back, which is really abnormal for me. Morgan, you even pointed this out a little bit, how reserved you saw me, but it's important. I've shifted my energy.
Mhm.
You make some great friends. And what Morgan, what you're doing with the Contractor Lab, which I saw last year and you're building off of, is you're making lifelong friends. And one of the most important things in this world of contracting, and it's part of my social media course that when it gets launched, you'll see this is a whole chapter on. Nobody cares about your business. Your husband, your wife, your kids, your best friend who tells you they care. Nobody cares. They love you. They want to see you succeed. They want the money. They want the accolades. They want to ride your coattail. And I'm saying this for someone who is me, but they don't care. But I
Well,
will
they
tell you
can't.
who
They
does
can't.
care.
They can't understand, right?
They don't understand. But you know who does understand? Other contractors. So when you join a coaching program where you have a group, as you said, the Pro Painters Network and now the Contractor Lab, you get to talk to like-minded people. Now, just like social media, is everyone going to be your best friend in that page? No, but you will find certain people. I mean, I still talk to almost everybody
Mhm.
from Crank. There's a
Yeah.
few cats I don't talk to, and it's not that I don't talk. I do comment. I know that my energy is way out there for most people, as I've recently been told from some friends of mine. I'm extra. Fucking yeah, you're right. Look at the wall behind me. Of course I am. I walk into a room and change the energy. That is what I do. That is who I am, and it's who I'm always going to be. With that being said, though, you've done this really great thing, which is a testament to me not knowing you before and seeing that you know what you're talking about. Is you put people together, you let them feel uncomfortable, but then you bring them together on commonality.
Mm.
That's fucking superior coaching just right there.
Aw, I appreciate that.
But do you see what I'm saying though? Like
Oh, for
I'm not
sure.
trying to pat your back. I mean sincere in this. Like,
Yeah, and it's very intentional. The original question you posed was kind of what's the role of coaching, and to develop that idea a little bit deeper, I really think coaching and advisory, when it's done well, you're creating a watering hole, right? And what I mean by that is it's the place where everyone who's been in a desert of being alone, feeling in their business, or feeling like they don't know what to do next, or they don't know where to go for survival, and they gravitate to this watering hole. It's not just about the water and the resources and the knowledge that they're getting, but it's about everyone else who's joining and coming up to that watering hole too. The other contractors are a really key part of that because they're the people that are going to be able to really truly relate to you. They've been in the trenches, they have seen and they've done the same things, but also the other experts that coaches bring in too. So that's kind of one of the points that I make when I'm coaching in the Conquer community too, right? One of the pieces of being eligible to be a coach in the Conquer network is you have to have been a seven-figure business owner, right? You have to have been able to, you have done that. You've walked the walk. You're not just talking the talk. And I do admit I'm a little bit of an oddity because I've never been a home service business owner, but I've always done professional service businesses for contractors. And I've been in the trenches there too, as far as I've done the 80-hour work weeks, right? I've done the hiring woes, feeling personally victimized by employees, having team members that I love so much that I would do anything for and go to bat for. And then the same thing for the clients, just wanting to do anything for those guys to make it right and give them the best experience possible. Um, but all of that to kind of go back to and say, when you're building a really good coaching community, one of the really key pieces of that is making sure that the people that you're with aren't stuck in an echo chamber. So one of the shifts and the things that we've seen in the last year, a good example is in the Business Brush Facebook group, which is kind of the core of the Pro Painter Network. For the longest time, the Business Brush group was purely painting business owners. There was no one else in the group that wasn't a painting business owner. And if you sold your painting business, you were kindly invited to exit from the Business Brush group, which was a really important thing that Nick May did whenever he was founding this group, because he wanted contractors to be able to come together and talk about the business side of the business. And he didn't want them to be sold at constantly. But one of the shifts that I've made in the last year is I've been very specific and very, very thoughtful about inviting particular experts in, particular people that work with contracting businesses, because their subject matter expertise is a really important part of making sure that all of the contractors in the group aren't just an echo chamber to each other.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to go introduce some good ideas and some really solid strategy and tactics from other spaces. But it's delicate, right? It's definitely one of the pieces where you've got to be really careful about how it's done, because if it's not done well, it just ends up like a bunch of noise for people.
Yeah, and that's what excites me with Vegas. And I do appreciate it that I will be speaking there and helping you behind the
I
scenes
love
on this.
having you.
It means a lot to me that you trust me with that. I don't know if I've ever considered myself a SME, a subject matter expert.
Subject matter. Oh my God, so much so. The workshop that you did last year on social media was so powerful. And especially like, for everyone who's listening to this, the concept behind the workshop series that we're hosting is that it's very hands-on. So that's the thing that's different
Very.
about this event. It's not classroom style teaching where you're sitting in a chair and you're just listening to things for 2 days. That has its place, but this is very, very much hands-on. We're going to be doing stuff together. And the social media teaching is a really key part of that. It just needs even more space to dive deep.
Yeah, social media is first and foremost. I want everyone. If there's 40 seats available. There's still some seats available. Don't hesitate. Vegas is going to be fun. It's a little off the strip, so you don't have that distraction, which is good. You are going to be around like-minded people. We will be at the ship from time to time. We'll be doing a lot of cool things. I've been privy. Thankfully, Morgan shared some things with me that we'll be there for. But when we talk about social media in the business world, um, AI comes into play. And social media is in itself its own job description. If you are a contractor, and we'll get into the AI after this little statement here, but if you're in the contracting world, you need to be on social media. I know a lot of you don't know what yellow pages are, but that was a thing. In fact, I was joking last night with my wife. We are watching like 2020, and they were talking about a murder that happened from the yellow page ad. And I was laughing. I said, "Oh man, I remember looking at the yellow page. I'd be sitting there eating my waffles in the morning, me and my sisters, and we would circle things and bend pages like, hey, Nickelcade was here, or the bowling alley. If you mention this ad, you got $2, you got a free lane of bowling, you know? So there's ways that we would find. Social media is just a yellow page. Just you have a lot more options now, and it's not registered to your region, it's registered worldwide. So when you're talking about, bringing in other parts, part of your coaching platform is that. Part of the things I talk about social media is like you need to hire. And I know you've been diligently working on AI this
Mhm.
last year because it's so imperative, because it can help do work for you,
A
you
lot of
know.
work for you.
And if you can, I know, don't give the farm away, but you are going to be talking about AI in Vegas. What are some of the things that, these listeners that want to go, because I did one ad that, hey, get your tickets early, and I had like 12 emails like, hey, what is this, what are you talking about? So let's
Yeah.
give them a little bit more light on this, like what Vegas for the AI part and the other speakers that are going to be there going to talk about.
For sure. And we should be releasing more of an official itinerary here in the next couple of
Yep.
weeks. So everyone wants to stay tuned. We'll definitely be pushing out some additional information, but we can definitely confirm Splash and I will be speaking. And I should have a couple of other confirmations coming through here in the next couple of weeks. So the AI tools, that's been one of the huge things that I've been leaning into really heavily, coaching, speaking on this year. It's a really, really big part of what I have been leveraging to help contractors with their businesses, because of the fact that so many of the AI tools that have been more commercially accessible in the last 6 to 9 months are massive leverage for you as a business owner. And kind of like we were talking about, any of the pieces of the business that really do still need to be hired out to someone else to manage, it gives you way more of an ability to put yourself in that creative director seat and quality control more and give more specific direction to those professionals that are working on your behalf, so that it's so much more impactful for you. Um, all of that to say, there's really no giving away the farm when it comes to talking through AI. The truth is, it takes some sit down, it takes some workshopping. In the Contractor Lab weekly sessions, We've been doing a lot of what I call right seat, left seat, which is where we pull up the tools and everyone who's in the sessions also has it up and we're working through things together because a lot of it's practice and a lot of it's just understanding how the tool works. So, what we're going to be doing this fall in Vegas is going to be really heavily influenced by how much these AI tools can push everything that we're doing further. And the truth is, they touch all of the components of business management and production management and marketing and salesmanship. Really, all elements of your business that you're working on as a business owner can be influenced and can be helped substantially by different AI tools. So I'm going to have different tools in the works that we're going to be working through together. I'm working on a setup here too, where depending on where you are, some of you guys are totally new to the realm of AI tools, which is fine. It's great. These are super new things. Some of you guys have been working on them pretty extensively. So, wherever you are on that spectrum, we're working on creating a couple of different tracks at this event. Since we're going to be doing more small group work, we should be able to actually just help you dive even deeper into that skill set wherever you show up. But the truth is, over the 2 days that we're going to be workshopping together, I want to spend the most time focusing on the stuff that you guys have been telling us and that we've been working on together throughout the year, what those biggest issues are, right? It's hiring, it's recruitment, it's having enough of your internal processes documented so that you can manage with more consistency. You're not having to put out as many fires because you've had an ability to professionalize some of those parts of the business. It's marketing and lead gen. We've had a really, really hard time with that this year. A lot of the lead gen that was working really well for people for a long time has started to dry up this year, and it's become panic mode for a lot of businesses. So, finding ways to get even better at your persuasive messaging, building a culture that's captivating. That captivating culture is important for your team and it's important for your leads. So, all of those pieces tied together over a couple of days are going to form the landscape of how we're going to be working together. It's going to be super hands-on. You guys are going to walk away with a ton of assets already built out that you're going to be able to immediately roll forward with when you hit
Yeah.
the ground running.
The components of trades is really changing right now. I mean, any business industry, but this is blue collar tribe, and the tribers, listen to it because they're blue collar. They have saws and everything going in the background, and they're wanting to learn to grow their business. One of
Right.
the components of the trades I've seen through conversations is a lot of people are dissolving their businesses and going solo. Then there's some people that are ramping up. As you said, some of the lead generators are not leading in the sense of generating business for them. And that's where I get a lot of phone calls like, well, hey, how did you stay busy? You always bragged that you didn't go without work. I mean, I legit could go put an ad up today and have work tonight and a deposit. The
Mm-hmm.
difference is one, I work the in a neighborhood that's HOA fed. So that's one thing that goes for me. The second thing is I just don't. This sounds really weird to say. Like I don't care because I know that I'm always going to push myself. And I think that as business owners, you need to change that mindset of like, well, I don't have any work today. There's a lot of things you can do. Here's some of my secrets. Ready? Every year, twice a year, if I didn't get a job after 6 months, I would return. Now, normally you're saying, well, what if someone called you last month and didn't get work? Well, I take that pile of people who didn't respond or who just said no, and I do a thing. Hey, just want to let you know we have some open availabilities. Did you want to revisit your bid? As something simple as that, you can gain 30% of jobs.
Right.
The other things are, and we'll talk about them in Denver, and it's part of what my social media course we talk about is like, you have to start handing things out. And I
Giving
think
value.
giving value, and I go back to that arc that I talked about is acknowledging you first need to acknowledge, do you want to have a business with employees or do you just want it to be you? It's okay if you just want it to be you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go that route, you need to stay on that route where you're not hiring anybody. You're not calling your friend Johnny to come help you do a side job. Take jobs that only you and you alone can do. Like I know that's hard. I know, guys, gals are listening. I'm in your yard with you. I know, you know, and I mean, hell, I turned down a job 2 weeks ago. $60,000 plus. That's material and everything. That's what the bid would have been. I know because I looked at the job. I could have done it solo and had it done in 6 weeks. I had 8 weeks to do it. I could have easily done it solo. Called some other painters, handed it off to them because I'm not painting anymore. But these jobs are out there. You aren't putting yourself out there because you're so worried about the small things that really are big things. And Morgan, chime in when you feel this, but like
Yeah.
you're worrying if Johnny's going to show up that day. You're worrying if the paint's going to be at the store. If your 10-foot sheets of drywall are there, or are they going to be 12 sheets?
Mm,
Did the electrician electrical right? Did they get done on a Tuesday?
mm,
Those are those are really important things, but in the big overview of business, if you're worrying about those things, who else is worrying about your social media
mm,
relations? Who's worrying about generating AI forms? Who's doing your bookkeeping? Who's making sure that your taxes are taken out of each paycheck? Who's making sure that your payroll is done? Do you want me to go on? Like,
yeah.
do you see all the things that I just added? So when I tell you guys and gals, from being part of the contractor lab, you're going to have other contractors, one, who know everything I just said. They've been there or they're going through it right now.
Mm,
Two, some of them, as Morgan said, they're already advanced. So they've done some of those things. I know that you're saying, well, we're hiring Contractor Lab. You are hiring us, but you've put this program together and
mm,
you're continuing to build it. And you're saying, hey, I have these other people that have been doing this with me for a year who have success. They're staying with me.
mhm.
They are also soundboards. That's a perfect thing. My big point of this is you don't need to go tell your spouses, your kids, your best friend who doesn't work for you or who used to work for you. They just don't care. You need to surround yourself, just like basketball. I love sports. Anyone that knows that. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, two of the best basketball players in the world, in my opinion, the best, hands down. They surrounded themselves with people who were coaching. They put themselves with coaches who wanted them to be better, who said, I can help you be better because I understand missing 20 shots in a game. I heard this quote recently about Kobe Bryant. He always wore headphones like I have, like the big over the ear ones at shoot arounds. This is before Bluetooth, so we always had wires. And someone asked him what he was listening to. He took his headphones off, he gave it to him, and the guy's like, hey, I can't hear anything. And Kobe Bryant's like, what do you mean? He's like, I can't hear anything. He says, I don't listen to anything. He says, I have my headphones on to listen to everyone else around me because I want to know who's in this game. I'm re-quoting this differently. Like, I want to know who's here to play and who's here to collect a paycheck. Who's here to fuck around and be famous, you know?
Mm,
And as a business owner, like I know Kobe didn't own the Lakers, but in the perspective of being a leader, he knew that he had to hand out things. There's stories of every great athlete, every great coach who had someone who coached them, then in turn said, okay, what I learned in coaching, I'm now going to implement. Hey, I need you to play defense tonight. Get your head straight.
yeah.
They
But I
were
think,
true to everything.
yeah, I think there's playing the game, there's being the athlete, and there's finding people who specialize in studying the game, right? Who specialize in the strategy of the game, who specialize in coaching to the game, because it's a totally different skill set, right? And that's really
Yeah.
one of the things that's so interesting about being in the coach and the educator seat is that when we're working with business owners, we're working with you to upskill your coaching because that's what you have to do to start leveling up in your business and to make your life better and to work better with your team. So it's really taking the skill set that we've developed over a number of years and translating that to you to make you more effective at leadership. Leadership is a craft, right? It's leader craft. It's a totally different skill set from what you've been doing kind of running in the weeds. But one of the things that I heard you saying, Splash, that I think is really important to reiterate and kind of hit home. We were talking about marketing, we were talking about all of the things in the business that can preoccupy your time and your attention. One of the things that I like, that I think is really important to remind you guys of is that all of those pieces are important. There's a reason why they're taking up, mental bandwidth for you. But the truth is that some of the things that have been working for businesses for a long time in the realm of marketing, especially, made things easier for a while. Like digital marketing just made things so much easier for a lot of business owners that you didn't have to worry about it as much, right? You had a Google My Business page up, Google Local Services, you had some Facebook ads running, and it was working well enough for you that you could put that off of your plate and just focus on the other nuts and bolts in the business. But the truth is that right now that's shifted quite a bit. So things that used to be a lot more passive, the passive marketing that was working pretty well for contracting businesses, especially in the wake of COVID, it's just not working nearly as well. So we need to be able to reorient and shift our attention to those other parts of the business. But that doesn't mean that the nuts and bolts that you were working on went away, right? There's still really important parts that you have to keep running, you have to keep producing. And I think that's where having the community and having the coach on your side can be so impactful, because what I do as a coach is look at everything that's going on in your business and point out those small leverage points that you just haven't seen, that you haven't been paying attention to. And what I mean by leverage is I'm not asking you to do more, right? I want to show you how to take what you're already doing and just create a lot more impact with it. Because the
Mhm.
truth is that most of you guys are already running balls to the wall. Like you're already putting
Yeah.
in all of your time, effort, and energy. But there's so many places in your business to drop a couple of tools or drop a couple of leverage points that are going to mean that the same amount of work that you're doing is going to take you 10 times as far. So when we talk about the AI, and I talk about how we're going to be employing that a lot in our workshops, especially this fall. I don't want you guys to get intimidated by it. I don't want you to think, oh, shit, that's just like one more thing that I have to learn. The whole point to this is that it's incredibly easy to learn and pick it up once you have somebody kind of showing you the ropes on it. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that it'll 10x the amount of impact that you can have and the amount of work that you can do. Personally, it's had that impact on my own workload. And I've definitely seen it have a similar impact on all the contractors who have leaned in to try to adopting some of these tools. So it's like, I really call it's like magic. It really is something you can sprinkle into your business, and it's not going to make things harder on you. It's not going to be a bigger headache, but it's going to equal a lot more impact for you.
You say that you use the word lean into. From my conversations, I'll ask you if you feel this way because you are the coach. I am
Right.
not. Um, Have you, when you talk to contractors that want to come on board with you or they're hesitant, do you feel that part of the reason is they feel like they're giving up a part of their business, they're giving up a part of their identity? If they get a coach, they aren't as successful as they would be because they didn't do it by themselves. Do you see that
Hmm.
ego? I'll use the word ego because I think it truly is the ego part of a human mind of like, well, if I hire Morgan, if I hire the contractor club to do this, I didn't really succeed. I had to use this person as leverage or this community. I'll tell you what, I've heard that I don't want to do those coaching things. I don't want to hire you because I want to do it on my own and say did it on my own.
Hmm.
And I'm always like, hey, I'm always here. Just let your
Yeah.
ego go when you're ready.
It's such a good question that you bring up. And the truth is, I don't talk to people very often or hardly at all that don't see the value in having an educator and having a coach. That's part of how I show up in the industry, and that's part of how I teach people to market too, which is really being very clear and identifying who works best with you, right? Who's your
Mhm.
best client? I do a lot of work with contractors with identifying who's your best client so you can get more of those rather than chasing down the people that you're having to do all of this work to convince. So it's kind of funny when you mention that. I think I'm not spending any time trying to convince somebody that they should do coaching if they're not, and I'm really lucky in that way that everybody who reaches out and really talks to me, like, the way that I educate and the way that I market, has been really successfully geared towards people who already see the value in it. And it's just a matter of when, right? It's just a matter of like, who am I working with right now? Can I get some advice on that? Which is where I love giving that advice to explore around and check out a few different things, because there's so many people who are creating value.
So they've already acknowledged that
And
they're ready for that level up. I hate the word level up. It's such a cliche thing to
yeah,
say. Like
well,
they're ready to add that. And I say from my perspective of the contractors I've talked to. I mean, this is the National Hardware Show contractors. This is
right.
the crank, some of the crank people. The people on TikTok that I've made great friendships with. A lot of them have said, well, if I hire someone else to do my social media, I'm letting go of what I really love. And I always tell, my answer to them is this: is why did you start your business? Did you start your business to be on social media? Did you start your business to be the drywaller because you loved mudding? Okay, that's fine. If that's what you're passionate about, that's fine. Then hire someone to do the social media. Hire someone. Use a coaching system. I used to do, oh man, BBIs. I forget the name of them right now. We used to have them in like local. You pay like $250 every week you met. It's local almost
Oh,
every.
oh, Business Networking International. Yeah,
Yes,
BNI. Yeah.
D&I, and I love them. I actually got hired from two other painters many years ago.
Hmm.
That's how I found out about them. While I was painting, I wasn't even there for my own business. I was there for them just because of my marketing strategy. Like I relate to people very easily. I like it. It's just
Oh,
part
yeah.
of my ego, who I am as a person. But when I realized, like, wow, this is a lost opportunity. It's a lost opportunity for businesses. Basically, in the contractor, in this lab, this is a bigger version of that. You
Hmm.
get that business networking, you know. And
For
so when
sure.
I tell people, that I'm grateful for you that you don't have chasers. If you are on that fence, if you've thought like, man, my business is on that almost fringe of collapsing, it's never too late. It is
Mhm.
never, ever, ever, ever too late.
Yeah.
Like I told every employee I ever hired, listen, if you fuck something up on a job, so whether you break a window, spill paint on a carpet, Lord forbid you accidentally steal something because you intentionally did it, just tell me.
Yeah.
We can always fix it.
That's why it's a lab, right? I actually named the Contractor Lab after my husband's workshop. So he's got his whole workshop set up in the garage. He calls it the lab. And
Hmm.
I love that because it's such an active space, right? You're
Yeah.
spending time, you're experimenting, you're doing things. Not everything is going to work the first time that you try it, but it's about being in there and workshopping things and constantly making them better. And it's working with your hands too. This is very active. This is not just sit back and listen. And so I think that, kind of going back to it, whether people feel like, can I do this? Should I work with a coach? We're really lucky because the people that gravitate to our community, that show up in the Business Brush group, that show up at PCA events, that listen to the podcast, they've already acknowledged that there's some benefit to being part of the community, to listening to other people, to finding out more information. And that's the first step, right? So I feel like, I'm not sure I have ever actually spoken to someone who's like, oh, I just need to do it all myself, because every space that I've spent time in with contractors has been a space filled with people that are looking for better ways of doing things. So they already have that level of open-mindedness. And it's just a matter of figuring out, well, what's the next best thing for me to be working on?
Yeah. Let's talk about the next best thing real quick after our sponsor. Hey everyone, Splash here with Monkey Run Products, your go-to ladder safety and paint accessories. Let's first talk about their paint accessories. If you're going through rollers and just tired of throwing them away or just don't have the time to clean them, they have the new Spin Pro and Spin Pro Mini available. It's an amazing tool to do your 3-inch all the way up to your 18-inch if you have the wherewithal to use those monstrous rollers on the job site. Also, their ladder accessories are amazing. It's like having an extra hand up on the ladder, but safely being able to access all your tools that you need to get the job done. Visit my friends at monkeyrung.com, use my code SPLASH10, and make sure you subscribe to their emails because they have a whole list of tools coming out for 2023 and you do not want to be left behind.
Attention Tribers! Plant-Powered Marketing is your cutting-edge marketing agency specializing in SEO, Google My Business, website development, and many other strategies that get you ranked #1 on Google. We're your go-to marketing agency for businesses who want to see real, tangible results from their online presence. Our team of experts has years of experience in getting businesses to the top of Google and generating leads through effective online marketing campaigns. Remember to let us build your next website. Contact us if you want to outrank the competition. Plant Powered Marketing, 971-570-0511 or plantpoweredmarketing@gmail.com.
Guys and gals, if you're in the spray foam world, you need to contact my friend Spencer. He is lighting up the spray foamers of the United States and Canada. His method has increased visibility so much. So go visit them. Morgan, Vegas is going to be fun. I know we're going to have a lot of conversations
Oh, yeah.
before then, but in a real quick, not quick, but detail oriented. I don't want anything to be quick on the podcast, but like, what would you tell someone that is ready?
That's ready
You
for
know,
it. Yeah, I would say the Vegas event is going to be early September, and it's going to be a workshop. So this is really your opportunity to take a break from the business for a couple of days. I have a lot of folks that bring out key team members. They bring out their office manager, their production manager, their key estimator, because it's a really, really great team building opportunity. But we're doing real work. So that's really my big focus, is that this is practical application. This is going to be super, super useful. It hits all those great notes that people love from events. Like, you're connecting with your friends, you're making new colleagues. Um, it's really invigorating. It makes you feel really excited for what's coming next in the year. But I really want to give you guys some super useful tools and help you create while you're at the event. So my goal is that you 10x the ROI from coming out to the event and setting aside the time and the resources to come out and work on your business. You should be 10xing that within the next 90 days. And I want you to be off to the races really strongly the second you head home.
yeah,
Crazy.
I can't even echo that. That's perfect. Vegas is going to be fun. Come see us, come visit us, come join, be hands on. Know that you're going to be up, you're going to be moving, you are going to learn. And one thing about your coaching with the Contractor Lab that I've really enjoyed just in the first year of seeing it and moving forward, being part of it with you, is these contractors are bringing other people who have already, like, they're bringing people who matter in their business to learn. I mean, there was I can't even think of the name of the companies, but the company names don't matter. But there were like 2 or 3 people that weren't even the business owners. The owner sent them there because
Mhm.
they understand the value. They said, "Hey, I need you to." So if you are a business and you're ready to grow, you're ready to make that change, add coaching, understand, as part of this whole podcast has been like, you don't need to be the one in control. It's okay to puppet master, dare I say, those positions where they need to go. If you've hired, social media people, if you've hired people who are, what did you say, acting managers, I think you use a different word, but
Yeah. Yeah. Just get better at managing them.
if you're hiring people to manage, this is for them. They're going to walk away and fly home, and I would say within 2 or 3 weeks, the new implementations are going to continue to grow your business.
Yeah.
I'll never fancy saying I'm going to grow your business a million times. I don't know, because at the end of the day, when it comes to all these coaching things and just my experience, I've been to events, I've done the things, I've seen them. It all comes down to your own discipline and the work you're willing to put in.
Yeah.
That knowledge is there. You have it.
hmm Yeah. And to get really concrete, whenever I say that I want you guys to 10x your investment from coming out to the event, I'm very specific about how I like to track that and how I want to, follow up with everyone. So really the 2 major things that we're going to be leaning into and working on, it's going to be how to market more effectively, how to do better prospecting to get more leads. That's the number one pain point that everyone's struggling with right now.
Everybody,
That's one
everybody.
of the easiest leverage points for us to lean into hard. And the second one is building better teams, right? In every component of it, from the recruiting to how to manage, how to have hard conversations with your team, how to build up your internal processes. I've got some methods to show you guys how to do some of those things for internal documentation and SOPs that are incredibly fast. So you guys are going to walk away with a lot of that stuff already done. It's not just me showing you what to do and expecting you to go back home and make it happen. We're going to do it in situ because we have the ability to do that now. But it's those 2 pieces. It's going to be about marketing really effectively, prospecting really effectively to new leads, and building and retaining those teams that are going to get you where you want to go. So that's really what we're going to be leaning into and focusing on. And the last note that I'll say is that, this is hosted by the Pro Painter Network. Historically, this has been a painters only event. It's still going to be predominantly painters, I'm pretty sure. But I am going to be opening this up in the next couple of weeks to some of the contractors and my network that are similar businesses to you guys. Again, we're busting out of that echo chamber. We're not talking about painting production per se. We're not talking about the ins and outs of craftsmanship. There are other events for that. This is all about business development, and you guys are going to meet some really awesome colleagues that are working through some of the same stuff that you are. But it's going to broaden your horizons and your access to other awesome business owners in your network.
Yeah, and to add on to that, a lot of contractor friends of mine are adding paint business on because they've already leveled up, they've already established themselves, but they want knowledge is power. So if you're that dyslexic contractor, as Morgan would say, this is a great event for you. We're going to be very hands on.
Super hands-on.
I've heard that saying before. This is funny that you say that because it's always like my father-in-law reminds me of my father. He's like, I've never read a book in my life, but I can tear apart a caterpillar, and
Yeah.
and fix it. Morgan, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You and I can go hours in conversation in depth, whether it's business or just bullshit. You have a good team behind you. I know your husband's part of your team. He's a great gentleman and
Yeah.
always the professional. And I'm looking forward to seeing you both in Vegas in September. And as we end the podcast, this is a new season, everyone. We are having a lot of roundtables this season. If you'd like to be part of this podcast show, you can call me. I do not ask this, but my sponsors have asked me to. Leave me reviews. I don't care if it's a 1-star, 2-star, 5-star. Leave me reviews. Share the podcast with your friends. It means a lot to me. It's how I keep the lights on in the studio. And also, we're getting ready. It's the fall. We're going to be starting. I know it's July or what? We just hit June.
Mhm.
September's going to be here. Sign up. And as I end every podcast with being a good human being, I want to emphasize this a lot more this season that we're in. The world's crazy right now, everybody. It is. I don't talk politics. I don't talk religion on my podcast. I tell everyone that comes on that is very not a conversation. So know that I don't mean what I'm saying in the realms of those realms. I'm just meaning the bigger picture of life. We are blue collar. We're out there. We're at the Home Depots. We're at the Ace Hardwares. We're at the gas stations. We're at the fast food restaurants. We are at the gyms. We're everywhere. When we walk around, people know who you are. People know that you're blue collar, and people are watching you. Be the difference. Let's be the difference. Say hi to someone. Buy him a drink. You have a lot of young generations. These robots, they're here to help us. AI specifically, social media. They will never take over our jobs. Ever. Hire within, because a lot of brainy people that know how to do it, and let you get back to the love and passion of why you are blue collar. And you all motivate me when I see you guys out there doing your blue collar shit and lacing up your boots. So just remember that when you lace up your boots, you're doing it with passion, you're doing it with purpose. And when you're out in the world, you're going to be a good, kind-hearted human being, and you're going to stop the shit before the shit happens because no one fucks with blue collar people. So any other words you got to say, Morgan?
Just continue to love working with your hands, guys. That's the joke about not being dyslexic enough to be successful as a contractor. I have so much love in my heart for people who are amazing craftsmen and love working with their hands. And I think that the more that we can lean into enjoy doing that and showing other people ways that they can have really stellar careers doing the same thing, all the better. We elevate the trade.
Yeah. And Morgan, I know that you're working on the social media pages. I know you and I've talked privately about
Oh,
them.
yes.
But
This is
where
one of those
can
hats I need to pass off. I'm not good at the social media pages.
we'll be doing that? That's what Splash Goes here for.
Yeah.
Where can people find you right now that want to hear
Come
more
out
about it?
and
You
hang
have the
out.
Business Brett Network on Facebook.
Yeah. So if you're a painter, go ahead and hop in at the Business Brush group on Facebook. If you're interested in AI, then I have an AI craft for contractors group. So that's open to all kinds of contractors. And we talk a lot about different AI tools. We post resources and tutorials there. And then if you want to stay in touch with what's going on in the Pro Painter Network, or maybe get involved in the Contractor Lab, check us out at propainternetwork.com. So we've got our event registration page up there. No matter what kind of contractor you are, if you want to make it out to that workshop event, you are welcome. It's at the events page at propainternetwork.com. And if you are a painter or craftsman of some type and you want to hop in on our weekly Contractor Lab Live, it's available as part of our memberships that we're still working on and revamping. But those are all of the places where you can find us and stay in touch. Plus, I'm on Facebook. Come add me on Facebook and DM me over there.
Yeah, she posts some quite interesting, funny things about her and her husband. One this weekend that made me laugh because I'm married to someone who's part military too. I'm like, hey, I know that. You want the towels folded the right way, you fold them your damn self. I'm
Yes.
gonna go do something else.
Yes. Apparently, I fold towels like a communist. If you want to hear more about that, come find me on Facebook.
Seriously, I started laughing aloud. I was like, oh my god, that's hilarious. I remember the first time I did laundry with my wife, and she's like, who folded the towels? I'm like, I did. She's like, well, thanks for doing the laundry. But I'm like, I don't hear butts. I don't hear butts. It's, are they clean? That's what matters.
Exactly. I'm working on outsourcing all of my towel folding and my laundry duties. So I'm training up the children so that my commie towel folding ways are no
Don't
longer.
give in, Morgan. Don't give in.
I don't like folding towels anyway. I gotta hand that hat off to someone, right?
See, this is exactly what you're talking about in the business. We're talking about it. Like if you know you can't do, or you know you don't want to put your energy into that, it's okay by passing it on and letting someone else be the doer.
Exactly right.
So, all right, everyone. Hey, much love. You can find me, The Real Splash, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. Wow, I'm on LinkedIn. I've been there a while. And the Facebook group.
You're such a pro on LinkedIn.
Facebook Tribers. No, I need to revamp it. Someone sent me a message to go work white collar. I'm like, do you know who the hell I am? Did you even look at my page? I probably need to hire someone just to answer my emails, actually. Yeah. So I don't like my emails. All right. Much love, everyone. Join us in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, the first week of September. It's a 4-day event, 2 classrooms. We're going to have a lot of fun. Morgan and I will be there. There is a discount. We will leave you with this. Early Birdie 23. What is the percentage off on that right now, Morgan?
It's 30% off right now if you are going to get in on the early bird discount. So I actually just extended that since we are podcasting about it. That discount will probably be good for the next week and a half. And the code is on the events page. So if you guys go check out the events page, it's currently posted on there. Take advantage of it and come on out.
You have until June 10th. This is going to, well, no, today is June 5th. So we'll launch the podcast on the 7th, which is my son's birthday. Shout out to my boy.
Shout out.
15, man, I'm getting old. But so we'll do that till the 15th of June. That code will be good till the 15th. Early Birdie 23. Get it. Don't miss out. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we have some really cool surprises, and I'm very thankful that I get to say we, because Morgan will, hey, do you have any? I got lots of ideas. Morgan's like, all right, who's the crazy person I know that can get this going? No, we have some really cool ideas. You're going to learn a lot, and I will echo what Morgan said. You're going to leave 10x, probably more, of just how much more efficient your business can be.
Yeah.
And as a contractor who's now retired, you will find more time as you build your business for yourself. And that is so important. But I'm going to save the mental health and the physical wellness for another episode. It's been a pleasure, Morgan. Much love to you. Tell your husband I said what's up. We are out, and let's leave you with a little music from my friend Tyler.